gotta say, I'm really enjoying the new music, Ryan.
It's pretty darn good, isn't it?
Yeah,
Nice little tune.
I have to
Original
give
composition for this podcast. We're a
yeah, I have to
professional
give
organization
kudos
here.
to my good friend Dr. Andrew in Toronto for coming up with that. Thanks, Andrew. We're enjoying it.
Yeah,
Hope you are.
absolutely. The season is upon us. The season preview episode is here. This is an episode
Can you believe it?
Dude, I've been looking forward to this for months now. Ever since the Canadians got kicked out of the last set in the playoffs, I couldn't wait to start previewing this season and talking about their place in it as well. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be a terrific episode.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. But you know what? I think we have to start in one place. I need to eat a little humble pie.
Because Kirill Kaprizov signed less than 24 hours after you said he wants out.
Well, let's just remind viewers that we did tape this the night before. So we taped this last Monday. And on Tuesday morning, after I made my stupid comments that Kirill Kaprizov was not going to sign with the Minnesota Wild and wanted out, and no one would offer more than $16 million a season.
He got $17 million a season.
After less than 2 hours after making that comment live, he signed for 8 years and $17 million. Oops.
Yeah. Oh well. Hey, look, you put your cards on the table. That's all we can ask of you, right? We're not pros here. We don't have any
pros. We're not
insider
experts. We're not insiders. And guess what? They get it wrong sometimes too.
That's true. That's true. In fact, there's probably a lot of outsider information we don't have too. We're a bunch of yokels here.
Yeah. We're just having a little fun, putting a little spin, our own spin on this thing.
So I think now you should say that Connor McDavid is not going to sign in Edmonton, so that if the same karma
no, see, I don't believe
it applies.
There's just no. But if you're listening to some of the chatter out there, sounds like there's conversations happening, and it could happen before their game on Wednesday. Some of the experts are suggesting there's dialogue happening. We'll see what happens. Whether it gets done or not, I'm not sure, but I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, I can't imagine he is. I can't. Yeah. There's all the buzz about the Kings and this and that. Could they do a Gretzky thing all over again? It's not going to happen.
I'm getting a little tired though of all the. And look, I'm a Leafs fan, as we all know. I'm getting a little tired of seeing all these memes with him in a Leafs jersey. It's just not going to happen. So let's get over it.
I know it's kind of like sending yourself photos of you with a winning Powerball ticket. It's not going to happen, so don't bother.
Yeah, no kidding. Eh? Let's just get over it. So, But let's ease into it here. Let's you went first with the Canadians last week, so we're at the waiver wire. The teams have to get down to their limits by tomorrow or I shouldn't say tomorrow on this podcast. It should be Monday at 5:00. They have to be at their roster limit. So we're starting to see some of the teams make some changes, make some alterations to the lineups, put people on the waiver wire, send them down. There's been a few trades. And in Leafland, David Kampf was the big name on the waiver wire, and actually Pezzetta too, because they just signed Pezzetta in the offseason and he was on the waiver wire. Now I think that's more of a money thing and a personnel thing than whatnot, and they can move him to the minors. And if he doesn't
Pezzetta was the 13th forward on the Canadians last year.
Yeah.
So you can't be surprised if he couldn't make the 13th slot for what is arguably a better team in Toronto, right?
Yeah,
and it's not like grit and muscle on their bottom six is something that Toronto is really lacking. They've got some toughness and grit down there. So, Pezzetta's a good guy. He's a grinder. He seems like a really good locker room guy. Wish him nothing but the best. But
it doesn't mean he's not going to be on the team come Wednesday. It just means that he's could be in the minors. He might be in the press box. He's just not going to be official in the official roster, 23-man roster. He's just not going to be there. But doesn't mean remember too what happened. Scott Laughton got injured, so. There is another, they're saying day to day, but
I heard week to week.
Yeah, it's week to week, which means he's going to miss the first week of the season for sure. So, which has changed the lineup a little bit. Domi, and on Thursday night's game, the second last game of the season, where it was pretty much the lineup that the Leafs were going to field come next week for their opening night against the Habs. Was going to be Domi up with Matthews and Nyes, but looking at the lineups from coming out of practice, Domi was shifted back down to center on that third line, taking Laughton's line, and Michelli was elevated up to that first line. And then there was a mixture of different things. I've seen Yarncroc, I've seen Robertson in that space.
Well,
So
congratulations on getting Yarn Cock
I find, I've been
correct
practicing. I've
twice
been
in
practicing.
the first 5 minutes of this podcast episode. You've gotten Yarn Croc's name right twice.
I've been practicing.
That's a record.
Yeah, and look at Yarncroc is versatile too. So with losing Lawton, who's been having a great preseason and a great camp apparently. Um, Yarncroc can play center. Domi can play center. So camp has kind of become a little bit of a wasted piece, a little bit of a
Yeah,
piece that doesn't
yeah.
fit anymore. So in terms of penalty killing, they now got Dakota Johnson can kill penalties, Walk can kill penalties, Lawton kills
Did
penalties.
you say Dakota Johnson?
Sorry, Dakota Johnson,
I don't think she's killing penalties anytime soon.
Dakota Joshua. Sorry, um, but he's killing penalties. Wall, Lawton, Matthews is killing penalties. Nye's killing penalties. So I don't. Camp has become a piece that they just don't need, and he doesn't fit
They don't need.
anymore.
But it's interesting. You said something, and you phrased it in a way that I'm hearing in respect to Montreal, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But you hear it when teams are being discussed and the roster construction is being discussed more and more these days. It's so and so can play center or wing, and that can play up and down the lineup. Now, up and down the lineup, I get, because you're a 200-foot player. You can pot in goals if you're with skill players, and you can play a crunchy game if you're playing further down the lineup. But this business about can play center, I find annoying as hell, because can play center usually means you're a terrible center, but you can play a defensively responsible game, but you're not going to be a 55%, or you're not even going to be a 52% face-off guy. You're probably going to lose more face-offs than you win, and you're not going to drive play in the middle of the ice.
Yeah, and when you say that, it's not going to be second line center. We're talking third and fourth lines here, bottom six. I think what it is, it's flexibility. I think what you're seeing nowadays, players are more valuable if they can play a multitude of different positions on the lines and play up and down the lineup. Left wing, right wing is interchangeable now. I know shot makes a difference, and being on the boards with your stick, being a player, it's nice to have your stick on the boards and be able to pick up the puck coming off on your forehand. But some of that doesn't really matter anymore. It's really about comfort. It's really about shooting position and style of play. So guys like Domi and Yarncroc and Lawton, who can play in different areas, become more valuable, which is really the problem with Camp. Camp is a centerman. He's a bottom line. He's a bottom six centerman, and that's about it.
Yeah, but he's defensively responsible. I don't think you could say the same thing about Max Domi.
But he can be. It depends whether you're asking him to play. And I think the other piece that may be a little bit surprising coming out of camp, for some people, not to me, is that it appears that Easton Cowan has made this team.
Why is that a surprise?
Well, I think a lot of people were saying they was going to start the year in the minors, let him mature a little bit more. But he's had a great camp by all accounts. He seems to be maturing really well.
That can't be good news for Mr. Robertson.
He's got an engine that doesn't stop, which is great. So it's going to be interesting to see him develop this year. And it could be
that's good, because there's Mr. Robertson, who has an engine that doesn't start. So
the problem is his engine doesn't know where to go. His engine, he's got an engine. He can skate. I've never complained about how he can skate. But being a fast skater doesn't mean anything when you're skating around the rink like a peewee.
Well,
you're playing peewee and you have no idea where to be. He's not responsible defensively. He's not scoring enough. I had an interesting, I don't know if you saw on social media, I had an interesting back and forth with a friend of mine's husband, and he was going on about Robertson's valuableness. Is that a word? Or value? And his value. And I was like going, are you kidding me? And he tried to compare him to Camp and Domi and a few other players on the Leafs that were in minuses. I'm like going, they don't put him in situations where they're going to get scored on. So you can't, and in the amount of minutes that he played and that amount of time he played, you can't compare this guy. And they just don't put him in those situations, and they don't believe in him enough. And he's not scoring 30 goals a game in order to, I guess, to warrant time. So, I think he's outlived. You've seen all the social media posts we put out there. People are out there saying the Leafs are trading him. Stop teasing me until it happens.
I get it. But all right, do you have other Leaf updates, or can I put you on the spot?
No, you can. I have no.
Put you on the spot. All right. Toronto regular season point total, and how far do
Wow.
they get?
Well, I don't want to get to my predictions too far, but
Yeah, no. But how far does Toronto get? We'll
I think
get to
they're a
the
100
rest.
point team still. I think they're a
100
100
points.
point
So you're
team.
putting them right at 100. So
I think
down 8 points from
I'm
last
going to put them
year.
100 to 105 points this season.
Okay. So still a little down from last year.
Yeah, a
They
little
had
down.
108 last year.
Yeah, I think they're going to be in that range. I think 100 to 105, which I think is
Okay.
still a good season. I think they're going to be challenging with Florida. The other thing is, and let's get to your Habs in a second here. The injuries to the Panthers and the Kirill Kaprizov signing has changed my predictions. It has ultimately made me change and rethink what's going on in my predictions. But I think the
Wow.
Leafs and Tampa will compete for the Eastern Atlantic Division title. I think Florida
Okay.
will be third at the best. Ottawa could overtake them, and Florida could be a wild card team, which could throw a lot of things into a weird mix. But I'm confident that the Leafs' regular season isn't going to be that much different without Marner than it was last year.
Hmm.
Let's be honest with the Leafs. When it comes to the Leafs, it's all about how deep they can go in the playoffs, and we'll get to my
That.
prediction later on. So I think
Oh,
let's
oh, oh,
stop
oh,
there.
oh, oh. Okay, so we'll stop there because they may factor into
They
your
might factor
playoff
into what I've
teams
got
and
to
your
say.
conference finalists
Yeah, they
and
might. They
Stanley Cup
might.
champion.
Let's not get away. You're trying to get my prediction out of me. Let's go to the Habs. How are you feeling about the Habs this year? Now that you've
Okay.
seen some preseason, you've
Yeah.
seen some.
Well, so the last week of preseason has been an utter waste of time. And we'll talk about this a little bit more afterwards as one of the sort of themes before we get to the season preview, which is like had two games against the Ottawa Senators. The first one was just a goon fest,
It's crazy.
and the second one clearly they were reacting to the goonery from the first game, and it was honestly the most boring. It was like an organized scrimmage with refs.
But that brings another problem into play that we can get into is
Yeah,
that
we'll talk
the
about that. We'll talk.
schedule of the preseason to limit travel is causing these teams to play back to back and having an issue when it comes to things like that happening.
Right, because well, you've got a lot of AHLers looking to make bottom six or fourth line slots, and they've got to be goons to do it.
Yeah.
Blah blah. Yeah, we'll talk about all of that, especially in the context of the Florida War.
That was just crazy.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a sec. But Montreal, so very hard to get a sense of whether or not they're ready from the preseason games they played. They sent Florian Xhekaj and Owen Beck down to the minors, which I expected. I expected them to keep
Xerox got
Oliver
moved down.
Kapanen. Sorry,
Xerox got moved down.
Florian Xhekaj got sent down. Arbor Xhekaj,
Oh, Arbor yeah,
Wi-Fi, the sheriff
Wi-Fi. Sorry.
is still with the team. The younger brother went down.
Oh, okay.
I would not be surprised if we see him back up with the big club at some point. He's been pretty impressive as a tone setter, but not surprised by seeing Oliver Kapanen in the lineup. You read all of these analysis articles and social media posts and things like that, and honestly, like, yeah, he looks very smart. He looks like he processes the game quickly. He has a great computer. Blah blah blah. Everything you hear. To my untrained eye, he just looks like an NHLer. He looks like he belongs. You notice him when he's out on the ice, especially on the forecheck. And he's just the kind of guy. It's like, yeah, he can play with good players and help make them better and help retrieve pucks and start plays and finish plays and be at the right place at the right time, which I guess is all the hallmarks of a
Right.
of a solid NHL player who may not have the most eye-opening skill in the world, but is skilled enough and can contribute and in a meaningful way, and more importantly, not give up more goals than he helps to create. Right.
Right.
And then Joe Veleno, the sort of retreat. I have just enjoyed watching him in the preseason. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time. He's noticeable on the ice. I think he could be. He's clearly being brought on as the 13th forward. But I'll put it to you this way: if the 13th forward last year was Michael Pezzetta, this is a massive improvement over that.
Right.
A massive, and given that they signed him for next to nothing, this could be the best contract they have this year.
So do you think with taking away Pizzetta, and I know you got Jack Eye, but is there enough toughness on the Montreal Canadiens with all that young talent, fast skating, great hands, some of these new kids, Demidov? Is there enough toughness somewhere, enough to protect these kids?
Well, I mean, and that could be, that could be a reason to bring the other Jack Eye up at some point during the season. But between Josh Anderson, who proved his worth in the playoffs last year against Tom Wilson, and Arbor Jack Eye, and the guy they don't talk about very much, even though he may be the seventh defenseman to start the season, is Jaden Struble, who is infinitely stronger than he looks. I mean, he is a tough guy. You don't want to mess with him.
Right.
Now, fighting is not what it's about.
No.
But it's about somebody who can make you, sit up and take notice when
Right.
he's
taking the body, playing hard along the boards. It's
exactly, like make you remember that he's there if you're going to be taking liberties with his teammates.
Right.
I guess is the way I would put it. Right. So I think they do have the toughness. They're still, in some parts of their makeup a little on the smaller side, but they're bigger than they used to be.
Right.
And I think that Lane Hudson and Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki and Ivan Demidov are going to be well protected.
Right.
I really, and look, nobody's taking liberties with Patrick Laine. I mean, the guy's a big guy. I mean, he's not getting in any fights, but you're not going to be able to push him around, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, you have to push him because he doesn't skate much.
Yeah. And Alex Newhook, we'll get to him. Alex Newhook is a smaller guy, but he's super fast, hard to hit, and he's not a shrinking violet.
Right.
I think the Canadians have gotten a lot of criticism about their lack of toughness, and I think even without Jack Eye the younger, I think they'll be able to take care of themselves. They rally to the defense of each other, and I think that's what's important. But I'm glad you brought up Patrick Laine because I think he has looked terrific in the preseason.
He looked terrific to start the season last year.
But he's done things. He's done things at 5-on-5. Now he didn't produce at 5-on-5. But both of the, his goals in the preseason were power play as expected. But his command with the puck, his zone entries, he didn't make bad passes. He didn't make the extra move that got the pass. That got the pucks, taken off of his stick and sent the puck going the other way. He played a smart game. He played a heads-up game. He played an involved game. He used his size. He used his stick handling ability.
Is he his agent now?
I'm not his agent because I don't know if I want to pay him another 8.75 next year or anything like that, unless he, performs out of his head this year. But I think we might see look.
You're looking for an inspired performance, is what you're saying.
I am looking for a performance from him that's not going to get him taken out of the lineup because he didn't show up. I don't think we're going to get no-show games from Patrick Laine this year.
Because he did sign a trail off at the back half of the season last year. He had a good start when he came in back from injury. We both talked about how well he seemed to gel with that team, and the power play looked great. And then post Four Nations, he looked, I'll almost say, terrible.
Yep. The other guy I will say I thought looks pretty good. I mean, he's not mind-blowing, but better than I thought he would look was Kirby Dach. And given how much pressure there is to make sure that
he stays healthy,
he stays healthy and can fill in the role at 2C. I was more impressed by his defensive play than anything else.
Right.
His backtracking on the puck, his support coming back, making sure he was keeping up with the second layer of the offense coming into the zone. I was very impressed with him. Even when he made a couple of boneheaded plays that got, that turned the play around heading the other way, he never gave up on the play and made some solid defensive plays coming back. So, I'm feeling really good.
So question to you. Last year you made the comment they were going to be 500 team.
And they were ahead of that.
They were going to make the playoffs. They did better than that. They made the playoffs, made the wild card. Wild card team this year, or do they surpass Panthers, since the Panthers might have trouble without their two biggest stars, one for half the season, one for the whole season?
Do you think they're going to? And I think that's an excellent question. And
last year they had 91 points.
They had 91 points last year. I am putting them down for the same amount of points that Ottawa had last year. I think they're going to have 97 points and make the playoffs.
Make the playoffs as a division top three division or in the wild card?
All right. Well, let's see. So these are the
Oh, am I
questions
giving you
you wouldn't
predictions?
answer.
No, no, I know,
Um,
but I'm not saying whether they're your division because I think for our ins and outs
yeah.
later
So
on in
okay, fair
predictions. So
enough.
I'm not saying conference champion. I'm not asking you if they're going to be a conference champion. I'm asking you if they're going to make it as a top three in the division
Or a
or are they
wild
going to make it
card.
as a wild card?
So it's a really interesting question. And one of the interesting things that I was going to say when we got to our playoff picks, the ins and the outs, uh, I looked at all of the expert predictions for the year.
So did I.
And I was amazed at when you looked at the Atlantic Division, almost unanimously, it was the same four teams that they picked. It was Toronto, Tampa, Florida, and either Montreal or Ottawa or both.
In a lot of cases, Montreal was picked as the third place.
Exactly. And I was very surprised that of those five teams, like the order that they finished like had a lot of variation in all of those picks. So clearly there's no consensus, and that consensus doesn't exist because these teams are a lot closer in strength
the whole
than
Barkov and
they used to be.
Kachuk, the Barkov injury's thrown everybody out of whack, and Kachuk missing for probably till January at this point.
Yep.
That's we talked about it last week on our preseason special. Where are their goals going to come from?
Yep.
Right.
I think Montreal will have a wild card spot, and I'm picking them to take the first wild card spot.
Wow.
And the reason why I don't think they're a top three team yet is because they're still young, and finding that consistency and maintaining it over an entire season is going to be hard.
You're trying not.
You think I'm soft pedaling like last year?
You're not trying to get ahead of yourself. You're hoping for. You're aiming for here, and you're hoping for what they did last year.
Well, you accused me of sandbagging. Yeah, you accused me of sandbagging last year, right? So I'm not sandbagging. I think they're 97 points. It's a 6-point improvement over last year, but I think that's WC1 this year. Great. I think.
Well, we'll get to our predictions in a bit. I think there's a few other things we want to talk about, and you touched about a little bit of it.
Goonery,
the Habs and Ottawa. Goonery.
Holy
cow. Tampa Bay and Panthers, do these two teams like each other? Almost 500 penalty minutes in two games, 3 fines. There's going to be a suspension here somewhere. The Tampa Bay Lightning finished the game on Saturday night with 4 guys on the bench. You could, it was
pretty impressive.
It was crazy. I missed the first part of the game, but I caught the last half, and it was just. These guys were just, like you said in a second, they were just running each other, and it spilled over from the game on Thursday night after Greer took a goonery on Hagel, and it just spilled over from that. And I think that's the point we wanted to make in terms of, we've all said preseason's meaningless. It is, although the NHL teams have to dress a certain amount of established players,
right? Roster regulars.
Unfortunately, you put them around guys who are trying to make the game, trying to make the team, and not be in the minors. And those guys take liberties, and unfortunately,
they're trying to show they're not afraid of the moment, and blah blah blah.
And then the league schedules these things so that there's limited travel. They're not wearing the players out, and they do a lot of back-to-backs. Like Toronto now is going to play Detroit. They played them twice last week. They're going to play them again next week, twice.
For real.
So it's just crazy now. These two, and that's the problem with the scheduling is in order to not have a lot of travel, not of things, then they're playing each other back to back, and then these things blow up and they spill over from game to game. There's no real answer to all this, but it's just crazy. They gotta do something.
I agree with you,
but
the problem is there is a lot of work that the coaches can do because the coaches talk to each other before these preseason games to talk about lineups and this and that. How is it possible that they have that much communication in advance about what the goal for that particular preseason game is and what they want to do, et cetera, and then not have the control over the players to say, all right, guys, let's not have a 500 penalty minute game, right? Let's not.
I don't know. I think there's bad blood there, especially on the Florida, Tampa Bay. There's bad blood, Ottawa, Montreal. There's bad blood, Toronto.
There's bad blood all over the place.
It got ugly and unnecessarily ugly.
Yeah.
Like even
but you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of what played beard league down in El Segundo, where the Kings practice facility is. Uh, in my younger days, I would play in a league that had very late start times, things that I can't handle at my current age, and uh, often before our games, there would be club level games between USC and UCLA. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they don't have like Division 1 or Division 3 teams. It's just a club league. You might as well not have had a puck on the ice because the puck was incidental to the action that was going on. You had a stands full of drunk students who were just cheering every hit, every punch, every elbow. And that's what some of these preseason games are looking like.
Oh,
like
even the fans,
you might as well not have a puck up there.
The fans were eating it up. They loved all of this. That's the problem, right? I don't know. You just don't want to see an injury. As much as I don't love the Florida Panthers, and Ekblad was injured in that game. And
that was a cheap hit too.
That was a cheap hit, a cheap sucker punch. So you just don't want to see that stuff happen. To the point where even the commentators by the end of the game were like, "Okay, let's just get us.
What are we even doing here?
What are we doing here? This is ridiculous. Let's go home. Let's go home."
Running time, right? Don't stop the clock. Running time.
It spills into injuries that we've said last week. Injuries are becoming a real problem preseason. We just had a couple other big ones. Cole Perfetti at Winnipeg is now injured. Huberdeau is injured in Calgary. Zuccarello on Minnesota is injured. So there's just a lot of, you got to keep the guys healthy, because the next stop as we go, we've said this before, if we want to go there next, is a good start to the season, because that first quarter mark of the season is Thanksgiving.
Yes, and we're not going to spend as much time on it as we did last year, because I don't feel like we're replaying the same conversation twice. But
it proved the theory.
You listen to us if you want a detailed explanation of the Thanksgiving theory, the Thanksgiving rule. You can listen to our season preview episode from last year. But essentially, it's roughly 3/4 of the teams that are in playoff position as of American Thanksgiving end up making the playoffs. And let's examine how it looked out last year, right? How did it work out last year? So looking at the East, we had the Leafs, Boston, Florida, Carolina, Washington, New Jersey is your division top 3, and then the Rangers and Tampa. Of those 8 teams, 6 made the playoffs. Boston and the Rangers fell out of it.
75%.
75%. Montreal and Ottawa. By the way, Montreal was in last
place in the East
at Thanksgiving last year. Let's look at the West. You had Winnipeg, Minnesota, Dallas, then Vegas, Calgary, and LA is your top 3 in each division. Colorado, Vancouver as your wild cards. Calgary and Vancouver fall out. Edmonton and St. Louis in. 6 out of 8, 75%.
So this means something.
Yeah, like you better. Chances are, if you're not in a playoff spot, you got to get off to a good start. Right? If you're not in a spot by Thanksgiving,
right? We talked about last week. How many times can you roll the dice? The way Edmonton has the last 2 seasons, slowing starts, or the better start last season a little bit, not quite as bad as the year before. And Montreal last year, dead last in the East, you just can't do that every year. That's just not helpful to the team dynamic. It's not helpful to your energy level when it comes to playoffs. These are long seasons, right? You're a quarter mark of the season. You're playing 25% of the games by Thanksgiving. That's a lot of hockey. And
that doesn't change the fact that if you took a random game from October and a random game from March and stripped all of the graphics and stuff out of it and just watched the game itself, it would be obvious within 30 seconds which game was in October and which game was in March.
No question.
Like it's just a different game as the season goes on.
Absolutely.
Like you want to have a good start, but the fact of the matter is these preseasons and training camps do not lend themselves to teams really hitting the ground.
No.
Running and hitting on all cylinders.
Because they don't want to have people injured going into the season, right? And that means then you need to play your way into the season. But if you err too much on the cautious side and not get the guys ready, whether they're playing in games or not, then you fall behind the 8 ball pretty quickly. You see what the ramifications are, right?
Yeah. So you've
got to balance that. We've said that. And let's stop there. But we all agree that Thanksgiving's real.
Yep.
So
without a doubt.
Let's see what we get there. So Where do we want to go next? We going to
I guess it's
predictions?
time. I guess it's time for our season predictions.
Okay, so what we're going to do is what we did last year. We're going to do in and out in the East, in and out in the West, conference champions, Stanley Cup winner. Who's
Yep.
going first? You want the East or you want the West?
Let's start with the West.
Start with the West. And
We
I'll say what I said before. My predictions have changed because of the Kaprizov signing and the
Okay.
Panthers signings.
Are you willing to tell me what has changed? Or you're just going with your
Yeah, I'll
final
tell you what changed.
results.
I had Minnesota out with
Oh,
thinking
okay.
that Kaprizov was gone and wasn't going to be back in that team. And we all said this. He drives the bus. He is
Yep.
the team. Now they just signed Gustafson, not Gustafson. What's their goaltender's name? I forget his name. They just signed him to a new contract. Their goaltending is solid. They've got a good team, but he drives the bus. So I had him. I had them out. I've got them back in. I only actually one team in the West falling out from last year.
Oh
I've
wait, it is
got
Gustafson. You were just thinking
yeah,
of
Gustafson.
Eric
Yeah,
and not
yeah. So
not Philip.
in the West, I got St. Louis out. It's
Okay.
my only team I have out.
And who's replacing him?
I got Vancouver. I got the Canucks.
Seriously?
Yeah, I think healthy season. Hughes healthy, Demko healthy.
So you think? But does Demko have to have a Vezina type season for them to make the playoffs?
He's got to have a very good season. And Hughes has to have a MVP potential season. But I think they were close enough last year. They weren't healthy. They didn't miss by that much. They missed by what? 6 points, 3 games. So I'm taking a flyer here. I'm obviously a Canadian. I'd like to see the Canadian teams. I could have said Calgary. I just think Calgary's going to make some
No,
moves here.
Calgary's.
I think they're not going to. I think they're going to fall back a little bit this year. But I think St. Louis out, Vancouver in the West. How about yourself?
I struggled. I struggled because the only ins and outs. I could easily have just gone with exactly the same
You could.
lineup I had
There's a
last year.
rationale there.
Yeah. I think Minnesota, St. Louis, and Utah will battle for the last two playoff spots. And the reason why I can't decide between them
You
is
got it.
because
Forcing you to.
they all have holes on the blue line.
Yeah.
But that said,
You were high on Utah last year.
I am high on Utah again this year, and I do think that St. Louis will fall out as a result.
So we both agree on St. Louis out.
Yeah. Now,
Who's in?
I am not. Well, Utah's out.
You're saying
in.
Utah's in.
I'm saying Utah's in.
Utah's
But.
no buts. You don't get a gimme.
No. This is not my pick. There is a small possibility, I think, and again, it has a lot to do with the blue line. There is a small possibility that LA falls out. They go from a 105-point team out of the playoffs.
Wow. You know what? As I say wow to that thought did cross my mind, but then when I looked at it, falling from 105 points, do they really fall out? And the team hasn't changed
if they fall
that
10
much.
points, if they fall,
And the other factor for me with less. Sorry, go ahead.
I got two words for you.
What?
Two names for you. Cody Ceci, Brian Dumoulin.
Yeah, and I got one for you. And Mr. Retirement Kopitar. And that's what I'm reasoning. Is it going to change that team's outlook because they're going to want him to go
His last season? Maybe. I don't know. I would believe me.
That was the only reason I left them in. Because I
live in LA. I want to see them
make
make the playoffs. I want to see playoff hockey here in Los Angeles. There's no I think they're going to be okay. I just worry that maybe Kemper isn't as good as he was last year. Like he had a Vezina type season last year. He's not.
We both thought that was a little over his head.
Yeah, and then you've got Drew Doughty's another year older. How far can Joel Edmondson take them at this point with Mikey Anderson? I'd look. They're okay on the back end, but they've got two fossilized.
There's a rationale there to take him out.
Yeah.
I honestly only left them in because I felt that Kopitar suggesting his retirement was going to have the same effect as Ovechkin last year going for the scoring record, and I think that could push them to keep them just good enough to make a wild card spot.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let's just see what happens with Quentin Byfield again this year.
right,
If he continues to improve and turns into the monster center that he could,
right,
then
takes another step
then
forward.
my worries are not founded.
Right.
So
On the
yes.
East, let
So
you go.
I'm
You
saying
go first
Utah
on the
in,
East.
St. Louis out.
You go
Okay,
first
going
on the
first
East.
on the East. This is going to bore the crap out of you. No changes.
Wow. There's a rationale for that. No
Yep.
changes.
No changes. I think
Okay.
the same 18, which by the way, statistically has that happened?
I don't know.
The same teams.
We'll have to do some investigation on that.
Yeah.
I have one change in the West, in the
Okay.
East,
In the East,
and the
who's
exact
out?
opposite reason why LA is staying in. I'm saying Washington's going out. I do not think Washington is able to
111 points to out of the
out of
playoffs.
the playoffs. I think they rode a high on Ovechkin last year. He's not going to duplicate the season he had last year. 43 goals. I think he's going to get 30ish or so. I just don't think
Okay.
that team. I think again, their goaltending isn't going to be as good. They're just not going to be good on the back end.
Who's
And
coming in?
Washington's out. Um, I got Detroit coming in.
Okay. Okay.
I think
What do you like?
I
What do
think
you
the
like about
Dread's out.
Detroit? What do you like about it? They can't score.
No,
Is
I
it John
watched.
Gibson?
I
Because John Gibson ain't dragging anybody in the
no,
playoffs on his back
no.
anymore.
I just think that they've just continued at the same thing year over year. They seem to Kreider, not Kreider,
Cider or Cider? Oh,
Larkin.
Dylan Larkin. Okay.
Dylan Larkin is going
Okay.
to drag this team eventually into the playoffs. They can't go on forever not making the playoffs. They got close last year.
Yes,
They've
they
made some
can.
improvements, and they put Justin Hall on waivers. They're in.
Oh, okay. So it's a Justin Hall issue, which, by the way, I can respect. I mean, if
Yeah.
you can carry your distaste for a player from team to team. I'm
I
not
had to
going to
pick
judge
somebody
that.
to come in because I do think Washington is going to have a
So not
really
Columbus.
regress. I think they're
So
going to.
so not Columbus and
No,
not the Rangers.
I think Columbus is going to. I think Columbus rode a high last year too with the unfortunate
The Gaudreau
passing
thing. Interesting.
Gaudreau. So I don't think they're going to be as good last year. I think it's going to hit them this year.
But what if Jet Graves is like the new Connor Hellebuck?
It could happen.
Because he finished the season like a
Could happen.
gangbusters.
You had nobody changes. So same
I
reasons that
know.
you're not making them. I'm not making them. I just think Washington's going to regress that far, and I like somebody that's not made it for a while. There's going to break that mold, and I think Detroit's going to be the team. I think they're going to be the ones to
Okay.
make it.
Okay. So let's go to conference finalists.
Okay.
I'm going to guess yours, and then you tell me if I'm wrong. Okay. You're going Toronto and Edmonton.
Nope.
No.
You got one right.
You got Toronto. So
I do.
who Toronto and Dallas?
No, I had Toronto and Colorado.
Colorado. Okay.
To me, it was a
Okay.
toss. But again, this is where it's changed for me. The Panthers going out. I had Panthers, Colorado Stanley Cup final.
Okay.
And I'm not going to tell you who's going to win at this moment, but the winner hasn't changed for me, which tells you, I guess. But I had the Panthers going to the third straight Stanley Cup with that lineup until Barkov got injured. And I think that's a game changer. And even if he comes back for the playoffs, he's not going to be the player he is. And I think their road ends. And look, it was a toss up for me. Is it Tampa Bay, Toronto, or Carolina? Those were my choices. And I went,
Okay.
I think Toronto's going to make some moves. I don't think this team is the team that's going to finish the season. I think they're going to be good enough to challenge for the number one seed in the East, in the Atlantic. They could be first or second. They're going to be one of those two. Them and the Tampa Bay are going to challenge for it. But I think by the deadline, we're going to have another centerman somewhere, and we're going to lose a defenseman. We all know who I think those are. And I think they're going to make that push, and they're going to make the Stanley Cup final. I got to believe at some point. I know people are going to say, "Oh, you're a Leaf fan. This is again another Leaf dream," but
No, but you've never picked them before. In all the
no, I
years
never
I've
picked them
known
before. And I think the East just was
it's
like
wide open right now.
wide
It's
open.
wide
With
open.
Florida Panthers, the injuries, the it just the floodgates, the whatever you want to call it, the seas parted. So I
Yep.
think this is the opportunity. They've got to do it this year.
Okay.
And Stolhartz is going to contend for the Vezina.
I don't think that's a crazy
Uh,
statement to make. I think Stolars is a great goalie.
if
As
he
long
stays
as
healthy, he's going to contend for the
Yeah.
Vezina.
And I was just going to say on the other side, if you're picking Colorado, you're betting that they stay healthy because they are not a deep team. Like their top six is great. And if they have any injuries to the top six, I don't see anybody from the bottom six filling in very well. And if they get any injuries on their bottom six, like they could be fielding an AHL
right. And I
line,
think
for
on the West, again, it was a toss up between three teams. It was Colorado, um, Vegas. Let's be honest. The Vegas is an extremely deep team on the forward side of things. I think their goaltending's still got something to be desired.
It's goaltending, they're going to win a lot of
And-
5 to 4 games this year, I think.
Right. And it could have been you could put Dallas in that mix. I'm not willing to put the Oilers there right now with this goaltending. Unless they do something with the back end and in net, I don't think the Oilers can do it 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
So who do you got?
I have Carolina and Dallas for a ratings disaster on ESPN.
Wow, that just might be a ratings disaster. The guys at TNT and ESPN just fell off their seats.
Yeah, I think if Freddie can stay healthy, their back end is as solid as any blue line in the league. They play Brindamore style hockey, and I think a full season of Mikko Rantanen sort of transforms what they are in the playoffs a little bit.
I can't argue with Dallas.
I feel really strongly about Carolina, and then Dallas.
Carolina, you mean Dallas? Mikko Rantanen in Dallas.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry.
Ehlers in Carolina.
Yeah, sorry.
And I think
Nikolai Ehlers. That was my screw up for today. Yeah, you had 67 months.
That's okay. I can't do pronunciations, and you think people live in different countries and cities. And people live in different
at least I didn't throw an actress into the mix tonight. Anyway, yes, Nikolai Ehlers brings a different kind of presence on the team in the playoffs. I think Carolina gets there. I think Mikko Rantanen with a full season in Dallas, is going to replace and upgrade.
Yeah.
Now he's not gone by any stretch of the imagination, but he's going to replace and upgrade what Jamie Benn gave the team up until now.
Right.
And Jamie Benn's still there. He's still a great leader, but he can't do what he did.
No.
And Mikko Rantanen absolutely can do that.
I said it last year. I would have loved to have Mikko Rantanen being on the Leafs. I wish Marner had waived his no trade and he was a Leaf right now. Conversely, when it didn't happen in the offseason, I was begging that the Leafs would take Ehlers because I think he's a playoff competitor. And I think it's going to be Toronto and Carolina in the conference final in the East. It's going to be a 7-game battle. I think the East and the Leafs edge them out. Okay. So Stanley Cup champion. We got.
I'm going with Dallas.
You can't argue with that.
Yeah, I'm going with Dallas.
I'm going to surprise you with who I go. Who do you think I'm going with?
Well, I know who you're going with. You're going with Colorado.
Yeah, I am going Colorado.
Yeah, you kind of tipped that off before.
Oh, yeah, I did. I think the Leafs don't. I think they get to the final. I don't think they win it. I think Colorado edges them in 6 or 7 games in the final.
Yeah, and I'll enjoy it just because it's the Leafs, but also because I want Nathan MacKinnon to get the full credit for the player that he is, and he's been a bit in the McDavid shadow over the last few years, even though he's got his own heart. But he is he's a special player, and we should not forget how lucky we are to watch him play.
No question. I think like last year, I think that division is continually going to be the hard one to come out of. Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg. It's going to be, again, a battle to come out of that like it was last year. And whoever comes out of that is going to the final.
Yep, absolutely.
So
I'm looking forward to it.
The prediction I think we want to go to is who's going to win the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes?
Sweepstakes? The worst? Well, it's not just the worst, right? It's the worst to get into a good lottery position
just say who's
and then
going to be
win
in
the
last
lottery.
place that's going to have the best chance to get McKenna.
I think it'll either be Chicago or Pittsburgh.
Those are my 2 picks.
I think San Jose is going to be better than people think they are this year.
I think the Pens are going to be I think the Pens are
And if they
toast.
win it, I'll be so pissed.
Oh,
I'd like to have Mario and then Sidney Crosby and then Evgeny Malkin, and then on top of it, the next time
Dubas
they
will screw it up somehow.
Dubas will screw it up somehow.
Yeah.
The other thing that let's finish this up by saying what are you looking forward to watching the most this season? And last year it was all about Ovi, right? It was all about the goal chase. For me personally, it's Ivan Demidov all day, every day. Like, I just want to watch this kid every time he takes the ice. He's the most creative player the Canadians have had since Alexei Kovalev, and probably maybe even beyond that. Like, he is a special kid, right. And to see him share the ice with Lane Hudson is going to be. It's going to make the Canadians an extremely entertaining team to watch. We
talked about it last week. Watching him in the preseason and some of the moves he was making, it'll be fun to watch. I'm not a Habs fan, but I'm going to fun watching them, and I'm going to fun watching the Leafs beat them on Wednesday night.
Yep. And I'm gonna have another prediction.
Yeah.
I think we weren't going to go over all the trophies, but I wanted to say that the Maurice Richard Trophy this year is going to Austin Matthews. I think he rebounds in a big way. I think he has a 60-65 goal season. That's my prediction.
I don't disagree, and I think he has to. I think that's the thing I'm most looking forward to, obviously, is watching the Leafs without the core four move in a different direction and play the style that Berube wants them to style. And I think we're seeing that with this team. They're a little heavier. They're going to be a little more harder to play against. They're going to win those buck battles that they didn't win some of them last year in the playoffs. But I'm going to see them take that next step and win the conference championship. I think that's going to be the fun thing. The other thing I'm looking forward to is we can't talk about it because last year we talked about the Four Nations, and after the Four Nations,
Olympics.
I can't wait till February in the Olympics. How much fun is that going to be after what we saw last year?
Yeah, but I'm really nervous on behalf of Nick Suzuki. If he doesn't make the team for Canada, I'll be really
the rosters will be larger than they were. That's true. Four Nations. So he has a better shot at making, and I agree. If he has the start of the season he had last year, he should be that extra centerman that's carried on the team. But there's no question he should be on the team.
Yep. The Olympics are going to be insane.
I don't think Marchand will make this team.
Not anymore. No, I don't think.
Remember, when you go to the Olympics, you're also going to the bigger ice, which we didn't have in the Four Nations. So that bigger ice makes a huge difference in the skating talent that you need to play in the Olympics ice.
Yeah, maybe some of these older guys don't make the team.
Right. So, and you need a more mobile defense. You need a more speedy forward line. You need to be able to play out of the corners and make something happen. So I think there's going to be some prizes. I think all the way up and down the Canadian team, the American team. I think you're going to see some different players make those teams.
I can't wait to see. Yeah, I can't wait to see how the Tkachuk brothers have to deal with not being able to be the goons they were in the Four Nations because the rules are different.
Someone's going to have to explain the rules to them or they're going to get kicked out.
In chalk on a big board with pictures.
Yeah, with
pictures. They're going to need pictures.
Yeah. With that, that's
our season preview.
Tuesday night, all get started. My Leafs, your Habs on Wednesday night. Can't wait. And we will be right back at our texting worst with each other and ripping each other. And Ron's going to be the third man in here. We're going to get Ron on this show at some point this season.
Oh, yeah. Well, you and I have been very friendly for the first two, episodes so far this season.
But
once the Canadians and the Leafs get going on Wednesday, all of the goodwill goes out the window. So can't wait.
This has been fun. We'll keep track of these predictions for both the Thanksgiving at the end of the season. We'll go over our predictions and how we did. Until then, I will see you on Wednesday night.
Absolutely, my brother. Talk soon.
Talk to you later.
Right. Bye-bye.
The organ roars a fiery tune.